Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you about, and yeah, I just did record in this shirt, so you're going to see it for a few recordings. It's been a while and I'm redoing some stuff. And yes, I did just record wearing this shirt, so you're not mistaken. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's going on in the greater collective in regards to our deities. One of the conversations I'm having online, and my circle is worldwide, is this notion that we are starting to see and feel deity in the flesh. And I'll give you a really big example of this that happened to me the week before last. Um, it was an it was an incredible experience. So, an associate of mine referred someone to me for what I thought was a reading. Unbeknownst to him, he thought it was just a conversation. So I gave him a reading. We launched in this conversation. So let me back up. I was already doing a reading at the shop when he comes in. I come outside. I was told it's the next client. Take him in the back. We're talking. And immediately when I walked into the room, I heard this phrase, walk in. Now, I don't know if you know what walk ins or step ins are. We'll talk about that later on. But about 10 minutes into the reading, he looks at me, and this is a 30-year-old man who's military, straight, and looks 18. And he looks at me. He has this innocence about him. There's nothing jaded about him, nothing, no negative energy, nothing. And he looks at me and he says, "You know I'm a walk-in." True story. So we had the greatest conversation. He is new to this world. He asks a lot of questions. He was referred to me because, as he puts it, she said I had had a lot of experiences that he had had and I could help him out. So we're sitting there, we're talking about, he's asking questions about everything to do with this world, and he's full of questions. And he asked about how he knew, or how I knew, if he was in the presence of a deity, and that he had an experience he was asking about. So I asked him how his body physically felt in this experience, and or what he, got out of it. And he said he described it as warm, safe, and very loving, full of love. Same way I described mine. So I knew right then that he was having this experiences with deity. And immediately there was this connection, this familiarity, this I know you kind of feeling. And we had this energy vibe from the first minute. So towards the end of the reading, or not towards the end of the conversation, he says to me, "In a few days, you'll know who I am. You'll see me as I am," which I thought was kind of weird. And I thought, oh, I've attracted another crazy one in, because I have a tendency to do that. So it was just really nice. So much so that we continue to talk on the phone. We text over and over and over the next 2 days. He comes into the shop. We talk. He bought some stuff on. So this was a Thursday. Saturday it's still going. He comes in the shop. We pick him out some things. We're still talking. And throughout this point, one of the pieces of the conversation we had on Thursday when we met was about frequency. And from watching this channel that I'm all about the frequency and ascension and meeting and creating all that kind of thing. So he was explaining to me his love of music and how the frequency of the music puts him into these trances, and this thing, which I related to. I'm very music oriented myself. So he said, "I'd like to share some music with you." So we texting, and he sent music back and forth. And it got to the point I said, I'm going to create us a little playlist. He wanted me to share some music with him, which I did. And I'm going to include that playlist in the description box of this video, because I feel, and you'll know why I'm saying this, I feel that in and of itself is a message for the greater collective from him, from Cornelius himself. So a lot happens in the next 3 days. A lot of conversation, a lot of good conversation, a lot of heartfelt conversation, a lot of deep conversation. And this bond is still there. This familiarity, this feeling of home. So on Saturday, he comes into the shop. We give him some stuff, and I give him a hug. And the way he embraced me, you've heard me describe the electrical feeling that I get through my back and into my head when he's around. Most deity work, most spirit, but especially when it's him. And I felt that. I gave him a kiss on the cheek and sent him on his way. And that afternoon he sent me a message. I'll just read it to you. Let me find it. I had given him that morning, I had brought to him a pendant with a stag on it. And you know how I have a history of losing them to people that need them. Because I felt throughout this whole conversation that there was a Cornelius connection. He wasn't familiar with Cornelius specifically, but there were a lot of things he talked about that led me to believe that that's who this was. So he says, "You're a beautiful person, Ron. You should never feel that you aren't. I appreciate your gift to me. I feel so different with it around my neck. Later that night, after I'd gone to bed, he sent me a text. He was working at his job. And it was an ominous kind of message. And it put a kind of a fear in me, in my intuition. It felt off. Because there was a connection there. And what I got out of it, based on what he said, was that literally it felt like he was having trouble in this body. Like he couldn't handle being this way. Never heard of another word from him. To this day, haven't. Doesn't answer the phone, doesn't answer messages on Facebook. He's on this channel, so I'm hoping that the person who this happened with will watch this video and reach out, because I would like to carry on the conversation. It was wonderful. But the next day I felt the shadow, and then by Monday there was nothing at all. So I asked a lot of questions, and I talked to some people, but most of all, I talked to my beloved about it. And this is what I've come down to understand about what happened that weekend. I had an experience where Cornelius came down and spent 3 days communing with me in the flesh. And I'm forever grateful to the powers that be of making that happen. I am thankful to the vessel, so much so. But it was a conversation that immediately after this happened, the beginning of last week, several people online started talking about the gods reaching out, and there is a big movement. This is another common conversation about the need and the thirst for people coming out of the woodwork for anything to do with paganism or the old ways or the old gods. There's a stirring. I believe they're coming back. Not that they've been gone, that's not what I'm saying. I do not believe that I'm the only one that's had one of these experiences, especially lately. I'd like to know about your experience with yours are, if you've had them. I will tell you, it's not something to fear. It was absolutely one of the most beautiful times that I've ever had. Um, and I can say without a doubt that I was with him for 3 days. I just wanted to share that with you. And like I said, if you've had these, if you've felt the stirring that I'm talking about, that we're all kind of feeling and talking about online, and you've had one of these experiences, tell me about it. I want to know. Um, I know the world we're living in. I know, especially my country, what things are starting to sound like. And I would certainly understand anyone not needing to be out. But my advice to you would be this: if at all possible, to share your stories, share them. Because without us, the flesh, they don't have a voice. They don't speak. People are so busy with shit, they don't notice the synchronicities. They don't notice the signs that are all around them. They come to me all the time, and how do I know? And I say but, and we pull some cards, and then they see it, but they don't see it on a regular basis. So without our help, we need to push the narrative, and we need to get it out there. So in whatever way you can, if it's online, if it's someone you trust, someone new that comes to you, everybody that comes to our life is there for a reason, even if it's for that split second. You hit a certain vibration, and then you match with that person at that vibration. It doesn't matter if they're man, woman, gay, straight, black, white. It has no meaning. Then inconsequential. Take that, when you feel that connection, take that minute, that hour, that day, and see what the universe has for you. See what that lesson is that day. See what you take out of it. And most importantly, you may not get anything out of it, but it could be them. It could save their life. It could be exactly what they need at that time. My Christian upbringing, and this whole weekend after it happened, what stuck in my head was when the Bible talks about how we entertain angels and don't know they're there. They don't know who they are. You come in contact on a daily basis with beings unawares. Take the time to look at the signs and listen and be blessed for whatever reason that is. I thank you for sharing this time with me, and I thank him for bringing us together. And until next time, I'll see you then.